remember when I was growing up, I really enjoyed school, especially when I was in college. I loved college. I hated the school part. I looked at class as something that got in the way. I didn't like the boring books. I didn't like the projects, the research papers. Hell, my college degree really belongs to the people that I paid to do most of my work for me. What I really enjoyed about school, middle school, high school, college, what I really enjoyed about it was the lifestyle. No stress, no worries, no responsibilities. I was carefree. We went to school to find out where the party was that weekend. School was only stressful, I'd say about twice a year when the report cards came out. I always stressed about my report cards. When I was in college, my dad would only pay for C's and above. If I got D's or F's or I had to drop a class for one reason or another, most of the time lack of attendance, I had to pay for it. Obviously, I always tried to make sure I made C's and above. I actually took college seriously my second senior year, managed to get a 3.0 GPA. For the most part, my grades were subpar, average at best. But even as shitty as my grades were, they were a hell of a lot better than the grade the NHL received on their most recent report card. Well, Casey, I don't understand. The NHL had monster growth in ratings for the regular season and playoffs last year. The league is growing in popularity, real popularity, not the propaganda popularity the WNBA talks about. Yeah, I thought the same thing. I thought the NHL was doing great. Last year, the NHL playoffs averaged 1.6 million viewers a game. Stanley Cup Finals, close to 5 million. Ratings for the regular season were as high as they've been in years. If I were to grade the NHL on growth, I would give them an A. Unfortunately, though, growth wasn't one of the subjects included on this recent report card. The NHL, they are not attending a normal university. They've signed up for classes at Woke U. The league is studying under the tutelage of Jamel Hill and the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion program at Woke U. This is a rigorous program. Jamel Hill is notorious for her tough approach to grading, especially when the student chooses to identify as Caucasian. Well, what if the student identifies as orange? In that case, Woke U accepts their tuition payment, then denies them access to the campus. That's what the shitfucks like to call reparations. Back in 2017, the NHL hired Kim Davis to lead in their fight to attract lonely men on Twitter. We need a qualified shitfuck to be the face of diversity and inclusion for our league. We must show the identifiers that we are pretending to care about this issue. Well, what qualifications does this shitfuck need to have? Well, the usual qualifications. They must identify as a female birthing person, and they must be a minority, preferably black. For the last 5 years, Kim Davis has been responsible for diversifying the NHL. Diversifying the fan base, diversifying the players, making sure everyone has representation in the NHL. Diversifying the staff. She has done such a good job at getting this done that a handful of players in the NHL formed the Hockey Diversity Alliance. The group was formed in the summer of 2020, in response to George Floyd, the man who made shitfucks across America feel guilty about their white privilege. The founders of the Hockey Diversity Alliance, they claim to be inspired by Colin Kaepernick. You know who else is inspired by Colin Kaepernick? Bomani Jones. Huge embarrassing failures tend to inspire each other. Ooh, look how bad Bomani Jones is sucking. His ratings are terrible. I know we can fail better than that. Now, of course, no one ever does, since no one does failure like Bomani Jones. But I gave you that brief history lesson to show you that the NHL has supposedly, been working their ass off for the last 5 years to become more diverse, equitable, and inclusive. They submitted their report to Proctor Jamel Hill, not to be confused with Proctor Fauci, head of the mythical medical program at Woke U. What grade did Jamel Hill give the NHL? An F. Not an F for failure, that's reserved for the Bobo. The NHL was given an F for fucked. Yesterday, the NHL released their first internal demographic study. The league has over 4,200 employees. 84% are white. Oh, this league is filled with evil white birthing persons! The NHL confirms mythical racism still exists in America. The news became even worse when it was discovered that 90% of the players in the NHL chose to identify with the white race. This shocking discovery that most hockey players are white, it caused Kim Davis to immediately organize a press conference. We must inform the media that we are dedicated to diversity, equity, and inclusion. We will use the traditional methods of propaganda by using woke boner words that show we are still pretending to care about this issue. Kim Davis addressed the shitfucks in the media yesterday, which, by the way, you can make the case that it was a genius move by the NHL to have Kim Davis be the face of this bullshit agenda. If this were a white man or woman defending the NHL, the mainstream media would crucify him. But with Kim Davis checking multiple woke boxes, the media has to be on their best behavior. Otherwise, they could be accused of mythical racism themselves. But check out what Kim Davis had to say about the evil white NHL. Roll the film.
I think the one area that we are feeling positive about is that 38% of our workforce are women. We've done a lot of work to improve in that area. And it's very consistent with our current female fan base of 40%, and so that's a great benchmark. Having said that, we know we have work to do with women of color, and we're leaning into that. Of our approximately 4,200 employees across the league and the club, 67% of our employees participated in it, and this is how they self-identified.
Oh, she tried her best. She was putting that lipstick all over the face of Rachel Levine, trying to convince you that he's a woman. Kim Davis trying to spin these numbers to appease the woke media narrative. Sure, our league is filled with white people, but many of these white people self-identify as women. Self-identify. Oh, Kimmy, I know you've been hard at work pretending to make the NHL more diverse. You should have used some of that time to understand the media. Just because you employ a lot of women doesn't mean you're going to appease the shitfucks. You have to employ the right kind of women. For example, if I put on my woke hat and attended that press conference yesterday as a reporter for the New York Times, I would have asked the proper follow-up questions. When you say 40% of your employees are women, what type of women are you talking about? Are these woke women? Have these women had their gender confirmed by a biologist? Do they have the required cucumber to be considered a woman? During the press conference, Kim Davis acknowledged that seeing these numbers is the first step in fixing the problem. First of all, you didn't need to waste thousands of dollars doing research to figure out the NHL is mostly white. All you had to do was turn on your TV. Even residents in the WNBA dump with their new color TVs can see the NHL as a mostly white league. But second, what problem are you fixing? Why is it considered a problem when 84% of your workforce is white? I don't see the NBA fixing their problem. How come we never hear complaints about lack of diversity in the NBA? What about the PGA? The PGA lacks in the diversity department. Most of their golfers choose to identify as Caucasian. The fucking media has been defending the PGA all year because they don't want LIV to succeed. The media likes to pick and choose when to accuse someone of mythical racism or accuse them of lacking diversity. But let's be real here for a second. This is nothing but a giant virtue signal by the NHL. They know there's absolutely nothing they can do in regards to the players. I guess they could address this mythical issue with staffers, but solving that problem is hypocritical because the solution to mythical racism in the workplace is always real racism. They automatically disregard qualified candidates because of their skin color and only focus on minority candidates whether they're qualified or not. You know what the end result of that is? You get a vice president like Kamala Harris. You want to see diversity, equity, and inclusion in practice? Look at the fucking White House. We have a vice president who isn't qualified to manage a library. Our transportation secretary is Pete Buttigieg, or whatever his name is. When hiring for this position, you figured that you would want someone familiar with oil and gas, familiar with the electrical grid, someone with experience working in the energy sector. What was Petey's qualifications? He identified with the right letters in the alphabet and knew interesting ways to utilize a broom. We don't need gas-powered vehicles. We can use brooms for transportation, amongst other things. This is energy efficiency at its finest. Rachel Levine is the Secretary of Health and Human Services. What were his qualifications? He put the T in LGBT and destroyed the economy of Pennsylvania during the COVID. Rachel, you did such a fine job ruining Pennsylvania, all while looking like a sea donkey from Star Wars. You're hired. In response to the NHL's virtue signaling and pretending to give a fuck about diversity, the Hockey Diversity Alliance issued a statement to the Associated Press. They basically said the same thing I did. There's no substance here. They're pretending to care, but they really don't. There's no solution to this problem because the problem doesn't exist. Not everything has to be diverse. It's okay for certain demographics to be better at certain things. For example, black people are great basketball players. White people are great hockey players. Black people are great rappers. White people are great country singers. If I had to guess, most professional bull riders are white. Does that sport have a diversity problem? No! White people are the only ones dumb enough to jump on the back of a fucking bull. Different cultures have different strengths. What's always made this country great is the fact that all these different cultures living in the same country have been allowed to show their strengths, and the rest of us has always been allowed to appreciate and respect it. All diversity does is dilute the quality of everything. I don't want diversity in the fucking NBA. I want the best basketball players in the world. I don't care what color they are. I don't want diversity in the NFL either. You think I'd give a shit what color the Saints head coach is? Right now, I would do anything to trade Dennis Allen for Mike Tomlin. But anyway, let me know what you think. The media crucifying the NHL for their own internal report admitting they lack diversity. Sound off in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, kc_btl84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys tomorrow.